Hey folks, Chuck Drollette here from Centerpin Addicts, coming to you from my small, humble abode tonight. We have a couple of fresh skeins here that we had gotten from some salmon, and a couple people on the web page had asked about how we do our cures. I know there's a lot of stuff on YouTube from either Potskis or ProCure, and I'll show you how we do some of ours. Tonight we're going to be doing a simple 20 Mule Team Borax cure, and then we can add whatever we want to later. There's also stuff from Potskis, who we normally use for most of our cure, called Borax Fire, that works pretty well. But right now we're just going to be doing it with this stuff. And I'll get to showing you how to prep the skeins and get them ready for the curing process. And we'll go step by step and hopefully help you guys out and get you guys to get a better cured egg. Alright folks, so now that we've laid everything out, the major points that I want to get across to everyone is the major killers of any good cured egg, and that's oxygen and water. No matter how good your cure is, if they're exposed to oxygen, they're going to dry out and they're going to start shriveling up like prunes. If they're exposed to too much water, you're also going to find themselves actually milking out a lot of times. So in preparation for this, we've actually let all of these skeins out for approximately about a half an hour, changed the paper towel that's underneath them to get some of the spare liquid off. And the other major thing that we want to go over to help you guys prevent spoiling of your skein is how to deal with the blood that is in the veins that run down through your skeins. Real quick, since I got a really decent vein here, I want to show you guys. If I zoom into this without a shadow on it, you can see that right along here is all this blood, okay? And yet over here, the vein looks like clear or purplish, like an iridescent color. If you take your spoon and slowly scrape the blood along, you can actually notice it forming a clot there. And if you keep running it down, it will run out. You can see that all the major blood, there's only little tiny bits left. And yeah, I'm a little anal retentive about the success of my eggs and how much I bleed them, but unfortunately being a little bit overprotective now will prolong them in the curing process later on. So you'll notice, if I'm not sure how much you guys actually handled skeins before, but you'll notice if I look at this one, that on the back of this shield where this protective membrane is, if you flop it over, that these eggs are literally, if you start rolling them, they're almost in rows. Alright, and they can be separated. And you're going to want that to know that later on for the curing process in order to help get your eggs and make sure that your cure gets in between them. So the other thing is, definitely make sure to, especially if you're going to be using Borax or Potski's Fire Cure, let your eggs set for a little bit to try to get some of the moisture out of them. I almost prefer, when I go to start curing my eggs, that if you try to touch the egg and pull it out, pull one off the skein, and you try to get it off your fingers, it sticks to you a little tiny bit. Not a lot, just a little tiny bit. And that will actually help a lot of it for the moisturization when you're trying to finger through here. You're not having too much moisture to clot up the borax. So I know there's a lot of cures out there. There's Borax Fire, there's ProCure, and again, we don't differentiate one versus the other. We just have our preferences. Today we're just going to do a really simple, really easy to do borax cure. So if you go to your local grocery store, all you're looking for is 20 Mule Team Borax. You don't want, Mountain Fresh scent or anything of that nature. You just want standard 20 Mule Team Borax. And obviously you're going to press open the side, okay? And the important thing to do right initially is to get this stuff layered on with some borax. And get it worked into the eggs before you put them up in your storage bags and you work it in and leave it a little bit further. So again, what you're going to want to do lay your skein down, and if you notice, some of this is actually kind of held pretty tightly right here. You can take your handy dandy scissors and cut open very, very gently your membrane, and almost like butterflying a steak. You can work through your eggs, and if you notice, as I cut through some of this membrane, I'm not popping a lot of eggs, but I'm opening up this membrane so you can get to more of them, and this butterflied open more so you can work with it a little bit better. You know, I had watched a video from Potsky's with a gentleman using a ceramic knife, ceramic scissors, and I haven't unfortunately had a chance to get a pair, so I just use the standard scissors and just go very, very gently, and you notice that I'm not really popping a lot of eggs, and there's not a lot of material that I'm wasting. Again, work down through the eggs, cutting a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper each time, and you'll watch your skein literally butterfly open, almost like a cheap steak. Alright, do a couple more cuts, get them bad boys opened right up here. Just go gentle, there's no reason to rush this. Alright, you see how these are just laid out really nice, and there's not a lot of moisture on your fingers when you're working with this, and that's a great thing right now, especially for the Mule Team Borax. Alright, so how dangerous is this stuff? It's not. You're going to need more than what you actually think you're going to want to be using. The cool thing about this borax is this. No matter how much you use, just the more you use is the drier your eggs are going to be. It is not like fire cure where it's going to make them turn into prunes, because it just sucks so much water out of there in order to exchange it for the cure. 20 Mule Team Borax is just something you just got to shake on pretty liberally. So what you want to do is give your eggs a nice coating. I know that, again, that seems like, I mean, if you were doing fire cure, you would have just ruined your skein. But in this case, this isn't a bad thing. Remember how we had talked about those layers of those eggs? What you want to do is start massaging in the borax. And you can actually see, I'll try to get a little bit closer for you folks, that as you work it in, it starts to form almost like it turns an egg a little bit cloudy. It doesn't start milking them, it just starts to neutralize this outer membrane of the egg and hold it, all the juices in there. You can see here's a little bit of that borax, that it just turns into a little bit clotting. It starts to suck up the liquid because of its pH balance. So what you really want to start doing is almost give your eggs a little bit of a gentle massage to try to get as much cure as you can, this borax, in between the layers of these eggs. And this is where those layers come in. As you can see, you start pulling back and you have spaces. You don't want to leave these spaces with wet eggs, because that's going to be a problem. Some people just throw this in a bag and start shaking. I have one of the YouTube videos that I've seen from guys out of Michigan called The Consummate Sportsman. They do it with, they cut it into chunks in order to make it easier for them. We like curing whole skein, just because of the fact that we don't know what size chunks we're going to be using. And a lot of the waters we fish aren't really as big as some of the ones like the Mainstay and the Muskegon up in Michigan. So we don't need those big gigantic chunks, because sometimes we're just going to be cutting off a little tiny bit and putting them in a sack, but instead of using chunk skein, especially for when the browns come through. So as you can see, there's going to be a need for a lot more detergent, but I'm going to start working this in. You can shake them pretty vigorously, you know, massage them in, and it's not going to be too god awful for the for splattering eggs. They're pretty durable. Another key factor to doing a lot of these eggs, especially in your house, is having an understanding wife who doesn't want to kill you every single time you open this up. Because some of the cure, especially like the fire cure, you really shouldn't be doing it in your kitchen or anywhere near something that your wife might be operating on, because of the simple fact that it reeks because of the krill, and they are not happy campers after you splash a couple of containers of that on the kitchen floor. I'm not speaking from personal experience or anything. Again, you see wet eggs, just rub them in, coat them well, and get it in all the nooks and crannies as best you can. You're going to go through a lot more, even when I started learning this stuff, you're going to go through a lot more of this cure, or the borax, and what you actually think you're going to be using. Right, folks, so because I just took some inventory of how much skeins we have, I decided to do a little bit of a different tutorial that I've seen in other videos for you, so you can kind of see a difference. This bag is actually whole skein. As you can see, that even after only about 35-40 minutes is really starting to solidify up really well with our borax, and this has been kept completely intact. And this bag right here I actually just made with small chunks, like we've seen in some other videos. So I can show you guys how to do that and how much easier it is to permeate a lot of the chunks with your borax, but still understanding that if your eggs look wet, okay, you don't have enough in there. Here is the borax cure that we did the other night, and this is about 12 hours afterwards, and these are the small chunks that we had cut up, and you can see that these eggs are, again, perfectly cured, and they're doing really well right now. Very malleable. You can see the clarity of them is almost milky, almost like a orange slushy kind of a presentation to them. They look very, very clouded in the middle, and that's how you know they're ready to be fished. These will sit in here. You can either freeze these eggs, or you can put them in a refrigerator and use them whenever you need. I hope this helps you guys out. If there's any questions on anything, and you want to know anything else, leave a couple of comments in the comments section, and we'll happily do some more videos for you guys, showing you guys how we